It's the monthly mental health awareness and stigma reduction initiative. It's an event from organized by Face Youth, and today we would be having quite a lot of interesting things for you all that have joined. So basically, I'm here. Sorry. All right. So basically, I'm here to just help us get the order of events going smoothly. And of course, for some people who are joining us for the first time, maybe you saw the advert of this event and you like the topic and you're wondering, so what's this Face Youth all about? We'll definitely give you a breakdown of what Face Youth is all about. And then we have some very special topics prepared for you also to help you understand better about the whole idea of mental health and why it should be in the front burner of your discussion every day. If you're seeing it as, I mean, a white man thing, like when you ask the Nigerians, typical Nigerians to maybe go and check their mental health, do mental health exams, they feel like, as in, is this thing also a thing? Like, we know mental issues to be something for the white people, but we all know that there's just a thin line between you that feel you have sanity and I mean the person that is probably struggling with something. And of course, with the pressures that come up every day. So we have to bear that in mind. So, but without wasting much of your time, let's quickly just go straight to the schedule and bring in the very first person who would be talking to us. Before I go further, sorry for my rudeness, but yes, I actually didn't join when I was supposed to, so it meant I didn't start off as ready as I should. But my name is Jane Frances Wednesday, and I am a sports journalist. I am an anchor and solid 100.9 FM in Enugu, Nigeria. So I'm gonna be the anchor for today's program, and we have lots of.
Sorry to interrupt, Jane. Your phone is sideways. Would you be able to tilt back your yeah?
Better?
No, it's still showing. You have to turn it. Maybe turn your, yeah, it's better. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so sorry.
And sorry, it's a bit dark as well. If you can move away from the window to somewhere that the light is coming through the window is face. Yeah. So just, yeah. Turn away from the light.
Better?
Yeah, better, much better. Much better.
Okay,
thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. So well, let's have Ify Anyewu. She'll be telling us about Face Youth. Just a brief introduction and to give us an idea of what Face Youth is all about, and maybe also what today's event is also about, so to prepare our minds for that. So please, Ify, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a bit noisy at the center. I would like to say welcome to everybody. We have a few people as well joining us here. And I'll hand over to one of our other trustees, because it's a bit noisy here, to give us a bit introduction about Face Youth. We really appreciate you all for joining. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Chinwe, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I will start by giving you a brief introduction of what Face Youth is all about. So Face Youth actually stands for Foundation for Advancement of Child Education and Youth Empowerment. So that is Face Youth. And we are a grassroots inspired charitable organization committed to improving the lives of youths and children using the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as a framework for action. So we had our first charity outreach about 6 years ago. And over the years, we have impacted a lot of people from all walks of life, regardless of the age, gender, religious background, and all of that. So we've been able to impact a lot of lives. So today, we would be having our monthly seminar, so the June mental health seminar. And we'll be talking about a lot of things. Mental health needs a lot of unashamed conversations. So we know that stigma and lack of understanding are the two barriers that keep people, especially those of us from Africa and other ethnic minority communities, from seeking help regarding our mental health issues. So our prayer today is that at the end of this seminar, we would have been able to touch a lot of lives, and a lot of people will be positively impacted. Thank you. We can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Chinwe, for that brief but straight to the point introduction. I want to believe everyone, got the core message of what Face Youth is all about. And so you'll be able to follow and also see us from the point of view of why we're interested about this, because yes, young people also do have, mental health issues. And let's quickly also introduce the first person, who is our guest presenter, Dr. Ogechi Silva. She's already joined. I saw her earlier, or rather, I saw her, greetings earlier, telling us that she's on ground. And Dr. Ogechi Silva is formerly Ogechi Odota, is a doctor, MBBS, is a Nigerian doctor, rather, who spent her childhood, her early education in the eastern part of Nigeria. And she obtained her MBBS from the University of Nigeria in 2010 before moving to the UK in 2012 and got licensed to practice in the same year. So she qualified as a general practitioner and was admitted into the Royal College of General Practitioners, RCGP, in 2017. And she's a lover of life, laughter, and also she's a writer. I mean, you can imagine to be a doctor and still have time to write. And then also she's a passionate soprano singer, crochet enthusiast, and a medical educator. She's a devoted wife, daughter, and of course, a loving mom to her, a loving mom to be, rather. So we would be handing over the microphone. That means that we all have to mute to listen to Dr. Ogechi Silva Ede. So please, a round of applause for her as she takes over the floor. Hello, Dr. Ogechi. Okay, Dr. Ogechi. Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good evening. Sorry, I was yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to be here speaking to us about loneliness and mental health. It's a great honor for me because this is an opportunity for me to share my personal experience with loneliness and my experience with mental health and mental illness, because like you said, it's not something that we really talk about. I remember, I keep telling my friends that the very first time I came to this country in 2012, and it was during our tutorials. Most of the doctors in the audience or families would know about the tutorials we do for the PLAB exam. And we're having this talk on depression. And I really couldn't understand it. I was like, is it possible that somebody would stay and they wouldn't really enjoy life again? And, the things you love doing, maybe going for choir practice, and then you withdraw from your friends. And I was like, is it really possible? Until I found myself in a situation where I faced, it started like fleeting bouts of loneliness, and then turned into long-standing loneliness. I was just by myself in a new city, and I found myself in that same situation. I stopped going for choir practices. I stopped catching up with my friends. I stopped writing. In fact, all my friends on social media will be reaching out. We can't, where are you? And I did not know what was going on with myself. I detested myself at that point in time. And it took a long while for me to come to the realization that my mental health is key. Is key, is like the driver. My mental health is as important as my physical health. And I actually had to go and see my own GP and seek help. So today I'm going to be talking about loneliness, what loneliness is. I'm also going to do a brief overview of mental health, mental illness, and I'll try to establish some links. And I'll also try to explain, the things that we can do. So before we start, I want us to remember that loneliness can affect everyone at different times. So that is why it's important we talk about it, so that stigma can be done away with. It's not a preserve of certain people. It can happen to anyone. So I've got some definitions on my slides, which I believe we can all see. So I got this definition from the World Health Organization. Loneliness is defined as an unpleasant emotional response to perceived isolation. It's the feeling that we get when our need for rewarding social contact and relationships are not met. So it's important to also note that loneliness and being alone are not the same. So somebody can be alone, maybe living by themselves, but they do not feel lonely. And then you also hear phrases like, I'm in the midst of people, but I feel lonely. So it's an emotional response to when we feel we're not getting that rewarded social contact that we need. You could be in the midst of people, but you feel these people don't vibe with you, or you just don't feel, in Nigerian parlance, where we don't gel, in the slangs, we say we don't vibe. I just don't feel connected. Connection, that's the term I was trying to get, connection. And then mental health is defined as our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we feel, how we think and act. It determines how we handle stress, relate to others. So I've put that relate in capital because it helps us understand that our mental health determines how we relate to people. So if we're feeling scared of maybe talking to someone, we'll find ourselves withdrawing from them. If we feel, some unpleasant triggers about a particular person or a stranger, we wouldn't talk to them, So our mental health determines how we relate to others and how we make choices. So I've defined what loneliness is that unpleasant feeling we get when we feel that our social contacts, we don't get rewarding social contacts. So loneliness can be brief or it can be long-standing. So there really isn't any clear-cut definition of what brief and long-standing is. In my own terms, I would like to say if it's brief, let's say somewhere between a week, thereabouts, a week or up to a month, that's when I can define it as brief. And when it's long-standing, it's when it's more than a month, that feeling of loneliness that comes and just wouldn't go away. So the longer it lasts, the more negatively it affects our mental health. And studies have shown that it's the long-lasting loneliness that has a negative impact on our mental health. So mental illness can trigger loneliness. And this happens, for example, I remember when I got really depressed, severely depressed. When I got depressed, I found out that my friends would call and I wouldn't pick their calls. Even my parents from Nigeria would call and I just wouldn't want to speak to them because I felt I was like a wet blanket. I didn't want to spoil another person's mood. But these were people reaching out to me, but I just didn't want to. And whenever those calls stopped, I started feeling even worse. People will invite me for parties and I would decline for no reason. People will say, come, oh, it's sunny, let's go and do something. I just found myself being the one who was canceling appointments, So mental illness can make you feel lonely. And when you're lonely for a long period of time, you now start getting these negative thoughts. Because when you're by yourself, when you feel I don't want to relate with someone, I don't want to share my thoughts, the negative thoughts settle. And when those negative thoughts settle for a while, you then start finding out the negative thoughts affect the way we act, And then it also affects the way we think about ourselves. So that's that link, they feed into each other. So the risk factors for loneliness, there's so many risk factors. I picked a few so that I could just mention them and maybe talk loosely about them. Losing a long-term partner. Imagine you've had this very good friend for a long time, or married couples. I see patients who come and you just are seeing someone who was never attending the GP surgery, and then they start coming. I ask, oh, what happened? What's going on? They say, oh, I just lost my husband or my partner of 50 years. We used to go for walks together. They were like my soulmates. Can you imagine? That person is gone and they suddenly feel lost. Like, I don't feel there's any other person I can connect to. And that's for them, that's where the loneliness starts creeping in. Unemployment. It's interesting how in this society, work really forms a large portion of our lives. We make acquaintances at work, we make friends at work. I think work is important. Just going out and having people to say hello to, even though it's like you're just coming and facing your work, seeing another human being to smile to. Hiya, how was your weekend? How was your night? Just having a chit chat is so important. So people who are without work, who are by themselves, feeling unproductive, that can trigger feelings of loneliness, living alone. So living alone, I see it a lot. People who come and say, oh, I just thought I should pop in. We saw this quite a lot before COVID and face-to-face appointments. Before COVID, we had lots of face-to-face appointments. And people will come and they would linger in the surgery. And I'm like, are you still here? I'm like, oh, I live alone. So I just don't really want to go back to my flat. There'll be no one to talk to. We used to see patients who will pop in to say hi to the receptionist. And you ask, they're like, they're living alone. So that living alone triggers loneliness. You're by yourself. But like I said earlier, some people are able to manage it better. They could be alone, but somehow they have other ways to deal with loneliness. I'll talk about it when I come into how do we manage loneliness. Having a long-term condition or disability, for people who are housebound, we see a lot of it in this society, not able to go anywhere. They just stay at home. People don't visit. For some people, it's only carers that come. For some who are lucky, family and friends come. And when you talk to them, they tell you they feel like they're a burden to others, and it makes them have a low, they feel bad about themselves. And that feeling bad about themselves, because they already feel like they're a burden, they don't want to talk to others about these negative thoughts they have about themselves. And these thoughts are usually triggered by having a long-term condition. It's been there for a long time, and they feel, oh my God, I'm now a burden. I don't want anybody to visit. They will even have friends saying, I want to come and visit you. I just want to, take you in the wheelchair to the park. Oh, no, don't come around, because of how they feel. And when these people now stop calling, the loneliness gets even worse. Then number 5, moving to a new city. That was what happened to me. Because when I came to this country at first, I was in Scotland and I was with my husband. He was the only person that was here. And I made all my friends there. I was in a choir. I was in 2 choirs because that was the first thing I noticed on coming to the UK. You spend most of your life in your flat or in your apartment. So I said, you know what? I need to find things to do to make myself happy. I was in 2 choirs. I was in a crochet group. And then I got my job and I had to move to London and I knew nobody. My God. So I'll just say after work, it was walk, my flat, walk, back to my flat. And then I finally got a choir, but it just wasn't the same. I think for me, I struggle with making friends. And then being in a minority group. So being, Black, Asian minority, in the LGBTQ community, once you're in the minority, you don't feel like there is that support or that community, and that triggers loneliness. And I think one thing I forgot to mention, personality, the personality type. There's some people who are natural. I don't know if I should call them extroverts. Some people are good at making friends. They come into a new place or a new environment. They're like the social butterflies. They know how to quickly link up and connect with people. And for some other people are quite cautious about relating. That sometimes can make such people more prone to loneliness. Okay. Then I will go to, I'm trying to move my slide. Okay, so the links between loneliness and mental health distress. It was in June 12th this year, there was a report that was published. I remember seeing that report and discussing it with my friends that there's been a clear link, or that there are clear links between loneliness and mental illness. And it has been found that chronic loneliness, so this is described as people reporting that they feel lonely often, or they always feel lonely. So that's chronic loneliness. That's another definition. So chronic loneliness plays a role in the onset and continuation of mental health distress. Then also, poor mental health prevents us from relationship with people or from sustaining relationships. Certain mental health conditions can make us fearful of socializing or even enjoying the company of our peers. And then again, the stigma of talking about loneliness, it prevents us from asking for help. So there are different types of mental illnesses. And I know I used the example of depression at first. I remember feeling very paranoid. Even when my friends checked up on me, I'd always say, oh, this person is calling to laugh at me, or this person is calling to find out if I'm surviving. You know, you start having this, even when people are calling to genuinely check up on you. And I remember sometimes my husband would drag me to events, and when people are laughing, I would think they were laughing at me. So it was because of my flawed or the disorder in the way I was thinking at that point in time that made me feel, oh, these people don't like me, I shouldn't be in their midst. And then other mental illnesses, for example, anxiety, we have instances of people with social anxiety who just feel, I don't want to go out. And then it feeds into the loneliness and it only makes the illness worse. It only makes the loneliness worse. So mental illnesses make us more lonely, and then the loneliness worsens the severity of the mental illness. And then I've talked about stigma. So it's important that we speak about it. Some people feel, why will I start telling someone I'm lonely, especially those who are we see as extroverts or we see as social butterflies. When they start feeling lonely, they struggle to tell people because they feel others will say, but you are, you're the life of the party. How can you feel lonely? And that's why at the beginning I said, everyone and anyone can feel lonely at different times. And that's why it's important that we talk about it and seek help. What are some practical ways to tackle loneliness? Most of these examples are some of the things I do right now, because having gone through what I went through, I take active and proactive steps to try to prevent myself from going down that steep hill of depression and mental illness. So seek help when we're feeling low as early as possible. Once those feelings of, I just don't feel like going, I've canceled my gym today, I've canceled the friend's picnic, I've done this. Once those feelings start coming, or you start feeling wrong, you start getting wrong, negative thoughts about yourself or about others, speak about it early. For those of us who are fortunate to have family and trusted friends, very important, trusted friends, speak to them, because we've got talking therapies. Speak to them, say, I'm feeling this way about this. What do you think? Even that friend that you're feeling is giving you negative vibes, you could just say, look, this is what I'm thinking about you. And the person could say, why are you imagining things like this? And the person could help you address it at that point in time. Let us start speaking about our mental health early, so that we get the help that we need. So friends, family, or your community, if available. Number two, speak to your GP if we're worried about a mental illness. And this is where I always hammer it, because I know what I went through. Speak to your GP early. I know it's difficult right now getting appointments, but if we can, set the ball rolling, getting an appointment on the phone. For those of us in the UK, getting an appointment with the GP or wherever, our family doctor, speak to them, and then they would go through the symptoms that we're having and talk to us about the help that's available. Sometimes it's be a case of being referred for counseling. And then depending on the severity, it might be a case of counseling and possibly medication. It all depends, but we've got our family doctors, we've got medical help. Let's try and start, the process of getting help. Number three, have a hobby. And the hobby can be anything, everything, any activity that we know we enjoy. I tell myself sometimes that my inner child is inside me somewhere. I know I've grown, but sometimes I take my skipping rope and I just skip in the parlor. I just want to be carefree. I just want to do something I love. I got myself a piano because I sing. I said I'm going to teach myself how to play the piano. It could be an activity that is fun. It could be something that's a bit tasking, like the weather is getting better now, maybe going hiking or joining an art class, a hobby that kind of is restorative. You enjoy doing it, okay? Then number 4, if possible, attend some work social events. So if you've got work, that was one thing I struggled with a lot. You know, if they're doing like an evening out, and they say, oh, we're doing an evening out, we're meeting up for a meal, you can just join, because work social events give us the opportunity to see our work colleagues in a relaxed light, you know, have a laugh, share in other people's stories, in your work colleague stories. Number 5, spend time in nature. Studies have found that sunlight, natural sunlight, increases our serotonin levels. I know in the temperate regions, in the UK and in Canada, the sun, we don't really get it as much as we do get it back, in Nigeria or in parts of, the African continent. But as much sunlight as we can get, please spend some time. I normally tell people spend at least 20 minutes in the sunlight. If it's a place where you cannot really get as much sunlight, you can get, they call them the sad lamps. I used to have one I used to use in the winter, and it just beams this bright light on you. And also spend time in nature. I know during one of our medical conferences, they talked about forest bathing. Go for a walk in the woods. Sometimes I just go and sit by a tree trunk and just keep silence and just try to be at one with nature to refresh myself. Then number 6, speak kindly to yourself. Speak gently to yourself. I always say, I am my biggest cheerleader. No matter what any other person is saying, what matters is what I say about myself. So I try my best to hug myself sometimes, tell myself I am trying, I'm doing well, I am enough, and I'm okay. And then if you've got meditative practices, maybe yoga, if you're someone who is spiritual that prays, and any other activity that feeds your mind, feeds your soul, try those, because there are studies that show that having a sort of anchor for your spirit, for your soul being, it does help to make you feel better about yourself. So yeah, that is my take on what loneliness means, why our mental health is important, the link between loneliness and mental health, and some of the practical ways that we can tackle loneliness, and by doing so, improve our mental health. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, you just have to take this round of applause from me, because I think I'm the only person that you can get out from. I really appreciate, and of course, it's quite enlightening. And I hope all of a sudden you just lose interest in things and you feel, well, it's my mood swing, but maybe it's not just an ordinary mood swing. Maybe it's an alert for you to do something about your mental health. But of course, we know that concentration spans can be low for some people. For these doctors, they can keep listening to these lectures all through. But for some of us that are arts inclined, maybe after I'm already looking for the next thing to, distract us or bring back our attention. So we tried to break down these talks and make it a lot more interesting. So we'll be bringing in a music interlude from one of the very interesting people we have in this group. She's gonna be performing and music for us. That's talking about Cameron J, and doing a bit of introduction on who she is and why you should be interested listening to the music that Cameron have for us today. So she doesn't just sing, she also writes. And also, I know you have a lot of questions. I also do have questions, but we're going to take it together after the second lecture. That's when we're going to do the questions. Sorry? Okay, so yes, we'll take your questions, but let's have Cameron J entertain us. She's, one of our things, well, the Northeast has been blessed with many talented musicians through the years, with the likes of Annie Lennox and Sadie Thorne and Emilia Sandé storming the charts and flying the flag for female songwriters and singers. So she is from Aberdeen, and she moved to London in 2012 after being selected to dance in the opening ceremony of the 2012 London Olympics, and she spent 2 years performing at music events. Wow! So you can also read along with me across the city. Now, this year, Cameron has embarked on a new business venture, Wild Child Studios, which will host weekly workshops with industry professionals and provide one-to-one coaching, as well as use of the space for rehearsals and media opportunities. So she hopes that Wild Child Entertainment Agency will provide the opportunities, support, and services that weren't available in Aberdeen as she progressed through her music career. She'll be performing for us right now. So please, you all should join me in whatever gesture you have to do, but of course we can't all unmute right now to welcome Cameron J as she gives us a beautiful music interlude.
Thank you. Never let it go, so hold this. Laying in the bed, I wrote this. Laying in our bed to roses. I'm looking at the focus. Never let it go, so hold this. I hope you know exactly what you mean to me. My mind, my body, my soul, they keep me free. Yeah, ain't nothing else in this world but you and me. One plus one equals two. The unity between me and you goes on, goes on. Because I know that you know that I'm always here for
good.
A round of applause, please, everyone, to the chat. Drop an appreciation for Cameron. This has really been quite interesting and, of course, a worthy break. Someone was complaining about the volume. Sorry if for any reason you couldn't well enjoy this music alongside us, but thank you very much for this wonderful interlude. And so we have another paper presentation for today, and bringing that right away. So thank you also for your patience so far. So we have another talk, and this time around, it's also a mental health, and it's also from a Dr. Adetoun Adewoye. And she is an indispensable brand resource using her multi-potentially and excellent tools to build and strengthen individual and corporate brand. Now, Dr. Adeotum is named one of Africa's youngest change agents and social revolutionists. So she's the managing director of Frontotherapy, an offline and online-based service provider where on the spot therapy is being rendered to individuals, sorry, corporate organizations through therapy sessions, and suicide rates are minimized, completely erased. Now, advocacy for mental health, therapy deals with the mind, personal development, and relationships. So she's also the founder of Eyinju Foundation, a non-governmental organization born out of passion for mentoring, motivating, and sensitizing younger ones who are being referred to as the leaders of tomorrow on the importance of being relevant and thriving in the society and generation, as well as running a Feed the Destitute by Monthly program through the foundation. So her trainings and certifications in diverse areas are life coaching in the United States of America, infection control training in the UK, and managing depression also in the UK, safe nursing care, safe motherhood, United Kingdom, psychology, and community psychology. She is a Young African Leadership Initiative yearly network member and also a Rotarian. I'm sure you're not surprised. Yes, they always have this, from Rotary, this thing about paying attention to humanity. So please join me to also welcome Dr. Adetoun Adewoye as she also talks to us once more on another aspect of mental health. So you can drop your round of applause on the chat section. But please do welcome. Thank you very much, Dr. for joining us. And we're ready to listen to what you have for us this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Can everyone see me? Can you see me, please? Oh, okay, great. So, hi everyone. Good evening. Okay, it's evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for your introduction. A big round of applause to Face Youth for what you're doing. I'm a lover of impact, and I like the fact that you people are Face Youth is dealing with teenagers, young adults, children. You're getting them there. You're helping them to set the path in life. So yeah, without wasting more time, Dr. Oge has said a few things. Our presentation was it was the bomb for me because she was just going about it and then adding real life scenarios, so you could actually relate with all what she's saying. So yeah, I'm privileged to be a doctor of therapy in the mental health sector, where I work with teenagers and children a lot. And I've realized that adults could be excluded now, but if we put more concentration on teenagers and young adults, then if we help them to set their mind right, we would definitely get it right if we are intentional. And there's no way we're going to talk about mental health or want to correctly talk about mental health without talking about self-awareness and personal development. Because for you to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers, you have to understand what self-awareness and personal development is, because you being self-aware makes you know, oh, these are the things that I'm good at, and these are the things that I struggle with. So when your triggers come, you already understand and you can manage well in life. Like I think it was you that said it in the beginning. That's Jane. You were like, what mental health needs now is more candor and unashamed conversations, and that's the truth. But you know, you guys are in the UK, yeah, mental health is already integrated into their health system, and Nigeria, we are still struggling with it, but yeah, we will get there. We'll get there, because when you talk about mental health in Nigeria or in any part in Nigeria, even with the fact that some people say, oh, Lagos is tush, Lagos is this, there are some people. There was a time I did a survey. I just went out with my team. We're about 4. We took our cameras and went to ask people, oh, what do you understand about mental health? A lot of people were like, no, I'm not in Yaba left. God forbid. I reject it in Jesus' name. You know, all those, the people who are religious were like, oh, they were scaboshing and all that. I'm like, mental health is not a bad thing. It's mental illness or mental health disorder that is the challenge. So we need that awareness here. We need people to know that you need to pay attention to your mental health, because it's altered. If you don't pay attention to it, it will alter every part of your life. Like when you're lonely, when you're sad, you can't do anything. When you're depressed, you're not be able to do anything. You can't think right. And if you can't think right, you cannot, you can't feel right or act right. So let me quickly share a few of the things where's my screen now? Share screen. Please, can everyone see my screen? Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, great. So I'll quickly run through it so I don't waste our time, and then we can take questions. So Dr. Oge already said all of this, and the reason why we're doing this is because we want to help people, regardless of your age or your race or religion, to understand your emotions, to understand your strengths, to understand your weaknesses, to realize your sense of worth. And then you can be able to create a personal action plan to deal with negative thoughts when it comes, and feelings. Those are intrusive thoughts that will just come without announcement, and it begins to, you know, gather every fiber of your brain and all of that. So for loneliness, if people are lonely, like she said earlier, you need to be able to identify the kind of loneliness. Like she talked about loneliness and solitude. So loneliness and solitude can be mistaken for each other. So solitude is when you are alone, but you are alone on purpose because you're probably taking out time, you know, to just have a me time for yourself, you know, to rest, to connect with to connect with your inner self, to try to grow on yourself. While, you know, the loneliness is when you are emotionally detached from something. Yeah, even with people, and then you're still feeling lonely. So feeling cut off or isolated can actually trigger a series of negative side effects. And this one, you know, when you're disconnected, you feel so stressed because a lot of thoughts are going through your head at the same time. So it's very, very stressful. Just thinking, it just makes you tired all the time. Sometimes it results into headache or migraine and all of that. Then when you are lonely, you make poor decisions because you are not cool, calm, and collected at that time. Your brain is not at the right place at that time. So you begin to make poor decisions. So you need to watch it. Another thing is when some people are lonely, they tend to have a loss of memory. They tend to turn to alcohol and drug use. Drug use. They tend to binge eat. That's when they eat everything and anything. And some, when they're lonely, they tend to have suicidal thoughts. So if you don't watch it, or if you don't try to seek help, it will definitely affect your life. It will definitely affect your life. Another thing is okay, so Dr. Ogia said this, that people feel lonely for a number of reasons. So let me quickly go. Okay, yeah, she talked about bereavement. Yeah, breakup too can cause loneliness. So if you're going through relationship breakup, family breakup, or any kind of breakup, which is traumatic for some people, definitely it would cause some people to, you know, draw into their shell, and they just don't want to be out there. They want to be on their own. They want to they just want to be on their own and not want to talk to anybody. And that's not good, because if it lingers for a longer time, it's going to affect their mental health. She talked about loss of job. Yeah, that's, then this one is starting a new job or school. So we have people who would start new job, or, become a new student in a school, and they realize that they're just, you're the newbie, and everybody already have the clique here and there, colleagues are already having their cliques, your students are already having their cliques, and you feel left out. So if you don't begin to make conscious effort to socialize or to meet people, to talk to people, then you feel isolated, and it becomes a persistent low mood of sadness. And that's not good, because the persistent low mood can gravitate into depression. It can gravitate into you being anxious, social anxiety. So when you're outside, you begin to have sweaty palms, you begin to sweat underneath your armpit, your feet are wet and all of that. So we need to watch it. Learn to talk to your doctor, like Dr. Oge said. Yeah, she already talked about moving away. Relocation can cause loneliness as well. So research has shown that adults living alone are more likely to have common mental health disorders, including anxiety, depression, and the reason is loneliness, like she mentioned, and she gave our own example. So regardless of your age or sex, common mental health disorders are invariably more prevalent in adults who live alone, unlike people who live with their partners or their friends or their family members. Even if you're lonely, once in a while, you can go out there and then talk to people, and you have people to talk to. So I want to talk about vicious cycle now. So a vicious cycle of loneliness, in quotes, is when you're feeling it's when you are feeling at your lowest, that your cycle of loneliness will commonly take hold. So when you have that low mood, then all those emotions rush in, and you begin to have intrusive thoughts. And if you're not careful, it can lead to a whole lot of things. Some people can, decide to self-harm. Some can decide to commit suicide. Some can decide to, abuse drug or drink to stupor, which is turning to alcohol and all of that. But there are ways to always stand up and battle all of that, if and only if you would seek help. So what can you do to help yourself? Number one, you need to even identify that there is a problem in the first place. So identify the reasons why you feel lonely, because for every mental health disorder, there is always a root cause. We have some people who have unresolved childhood trauma. We have some people who have emotional neglect. We have some people who have childhood neglect. We have some people who have so it spans across. And we have some people too who has this genetical depression record. So that's why I always tell people that you need to know, no matter how small you are, except if you are like a toddler, but as long as you are a teenager, you need to know your health history. Is very, very important. In Africa, they don't really tell us most of those things, but I think I'm privileged, and the friends I have, we have that knowledge, and then we are beginning to pass that knowledge to excuse me, to other people, that you need to sit your family down and ask about your health history, so that you can know. These things will help you to know, oh, what is prevalent in my generation, what are they prone to have, what are they, so you can know what to eat, what not to eat, what to do, what not to do. It helps a lot, because even your diet, if you're eating wrongly, it can trigger some mental health disorders as well. So you need to identify that. And when you identify that, I put some pointers there that can help you ask those questions. When do you feel most lonely? Is it like it's in the morning, in the afternoon? In the morning, you don't like to, wake up early, or you drag yourself up from the bed, or it's in the afternoon, like you're always tired for nothing, or it's at night that when you're back from work or from school, and you just feel that, oh, you're not just happy for anything. So you need to identify that. After identifying that, journaling is a way to track your thoughts and your feelings. I always tell people journaling is a beautiful thing. No matter how little, just write down. The faintest pen is much more better than the brightest brain, because when you go back to it, it helps you to keep a track record of those things. So you need to journal your thoughts, you need to journal your feeling. For people who might not like writing, you can make use of your phone. Everybody has a device that can record. So you can instead of going for midget that journalists use, you can just press record on your phone and then say, oh, okay, so my name is so this is today's date, this is this time, this is how I'm feeling, I can't understand it. So you need to jot those things. So the reason why we say all this is because it will help you to keep a track record and help you to correctly tell your doctor all those things when you finally go for checkup. So journaling is another good way. Then you need to practice meditation. Meditation is another amazing way. Truth is, meditation is a way of life. For me, though I don't know about some people. So research has suggested that meditation can ease feelings associated with loneliness and depression. So when you meditate, it helps a lot. And there are resources online, on YouTube, I think I saw a few on TikTok of recent. They are just online that can help you to meditate. So practicing meditation is another way that you can help yourself. Then, like Dr. Oge has said, consider talking to a therapist about how you feel, because it is only when you talk to a therapist that they will be able to, lay all the cards down and tell you, oh, okay, so this is this, this is this, this is this, and this is what you need to do. So they will be able to help you get the required help. It's quite easy in Western world, but in Nigeria, we still have the challenge of, opening up to people. People find it hard to open up to people because they believe, okay, number one thing is they believe that they cannot afford a therapist. Another thing that they believe is, oh, if I talk to my friend or my family member, then my news is going to become breaking news on CNN. So instead of talking to people, instead of seeking for help, they just tend to withdraw, and they are, forgive my language, excuse my language, they're dying on the inside. So it's always good to please talk to someone, talk to your trusted family member, talk to your trusted friends, or consider talking to a therapist and they can guide you. Another thing is, no matter how lonely you are, realize that you're not the only lonely person in the whole world. You are not alone in this loneliness thing. There are times that people's mood change. So at one point or the other, 8 in like 10 people would have felt lonely at one point or the other. So always realize that you are not alone in this. So you should learn to seek for help, learn to talk about your feelings. Another thing, Dr. Ogi has stressed this, be kind to yourself and others. So when you are in your low mood and all those thoughts are in your head, the first thing you need to do is you need to calm down and then filter your thoughts. Affirmation is a good way to help you boost this. I do that a lot, like when I'm going out, because I'm privileged to be a emergency response this is for Lagos State on rape and all that. So my days, like my Mondays to Fridays, are always jam-packed. That's just the truth. So when I'm going out, or when I hear some cases on the phone already, I'm already agitated. I'm already annoyed, like, oh, I'm going there to cause wala and all that. So I just look at myself, I just say, okay. I look at myself in the mirror and I'm talking to myself, Adeton, when you get there, please act like a normal person. Act like someone who knows the law. Act like this, act like that. So I try to psych up myself before I get to where I'm going to. And by the time I'm there, God has always been faithful. We try to do what we do and we solve things. So social support, Dr. Ogi has already said that, to learn to look for social support in the abroad. Yeah, let me put it like that. In the abroad, there are social groups that you can actually join. It's a budding thing in Nigeria here, but we'll get there. But there are social groups online as well that people can join. I think I've seen a lot on Instagram. I've seen a lot on Twitter where people can join those groups. I've seen a lot on WhatsApp too. Like Mental Health Foundation of Nigeria, they have a support group. They have a support group, so you can just join and learn to. You can just join, and from there you would learn a whole lot of things. You would learn to watch how they do things, how you can get help, and all that. So yeah, in summary, so that I won't waste our time, the connection between mental health and loneliness is actually a complex one, really, because there is a thin line kind of between it. So whatever stage you are in, please always remember that there is life at the end of the tunnel. Do not try to turn to drug use. Do not try to become an alcoholic because you're trying to drink your sorrow away. Do not try to take your own life, because life is amazing. Life is beautiful. And with you in life, it's much more beautiful. So please, whoever is on the call, or you have someone who you notice that, they've been showing all the signs of loneliness and all that, please try to get them help. Try to get them help. Try to cheer them up. Try to let them know that it's only a phase and then it will pass. And then in conclusion, I would encourage people to embrace talk therapy. Talk therapy can help you in many, many situations. It's not just in loneliness. Talk therapy is a tool that can help people with loneliness, depression, anxiety, eating disorder, addictions, drug use, blah, 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 and all that. It can help you to come out of this and bring you back to that optimal mental health phase. So in conclusion, let us always remember that there is no health without mental health, because if you're not okay up there, you cannot perform fully. Like, you cannot do things that you want to do. You cannot achieve things that you want to do properly. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for having me. We will take questions now. Thank you, Dr. Ogie. Okay, stop share. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for this enlightening discussion. Also, I mean, you, Dr. Gate, did like the intro, and then brought us to the reality of the fact that sometimes we think it's just there, but I mean, little things out there are indications. But then you've also gone further to explain how we can, just know about our triggers. The word trigger kept on coming. So thank you. All right, so we'll go to the interactive section. And I think at this point, I'd like to also mention that the people who joined us on Facebook and on YouTube, yes, you can drop your questions there. We'll still bring it here to ask the resource persons. So if you have any questions, this is the time to bring them on board so we can tackle them. Okay, so you have a question, go ahead, just drop the question. Okay, so we have one here already. And please indicate the doctor you're asking your question. We had two doctors who talked to us. So, but someone, Camelia Musu, is asking, the word triggers confuses me. Please throw more light on it. Thanks. And I'm thinking that, that she's asking Dr. Dewey because she was the one who talked about triggers.
Yeah, hi.
Camelia. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not Camille. So can I ask my question?
Yes, go ahead, of course.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you so much to both doctors for such an interactive and interesting conversation. I just would like to ask just Dr. Adu, who just left, just relating to speaking about childhood and teenagers with regards to mental health and things like loneliness. So if you are trying to introduce mental health into children, like young children, how would you sort of go ahead with regards to doing that? And also just in terms of some therapies, things like play therapy has been shown to be very impactful for children and introducing very complex topics to them, like divorce and loneliness and things like that. So how would you introduce play therapy to mothers and fathers and and parents and guardians, partly in countries where it's very taboo to be to acknowledge that you have some sort of mental health, or to accept that there's some sort of mental health and there's some shame associated with that. Yeah, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Please, if you also join to ask your
Is that question
questions.
for me?
Yes, Dr. Data question is for you. And like I also said, I think Camela's question is also for you. She was asking, she said you use the word triggers, or rather that the word triggers confused her. So please throw more light. Okay.
Okay. All right. I would quickly talk about triggers. So triggers are basically the things that happen that is like okay, I'm looking for the English now. I'm looking for the English word. So there are things that happen around us that jolt us into reality of okay, let me give an example. So if a child was raped at a tender age, and the child has tried to get over it, even though he or she might not have seen a proper way to overcome it. If that trauma is not resolved and the child gets to grow up to become an adult or a teenager or something, if the word rape is mentioned around that child, it's a trigger for the child. So the child will always go back to relieve that moment, like relieve that trauma. Okay, great. Yeah. So there are external stimulus that cause people to react in a certain way. So that's like the sample that the English has run as, and I have it in my head, but it's not coming. So it's like something that jolts you back into whatever has happened, or something that makes you react, like a reflex action. Either you see it, you hear it, or you feel it. It just brings that reaction in you. So that's what trigger means. Then for X that asked about introducing mental health to a child, information is very powerful. So before you can introduce a mental health to a child, or discuss a mental health disorder with a child, the parents have to be in agreement first. The parents have to be in agreement, because there's no way you would talk to a child if there's nobody monitoring the child and helping the child at home. It would just be like a futile effort. So it has to be something that would go on between both the parent and the child who needs the therapy. And therapy for different people differs. So what works for A will definitely or might not work for B. So what works for a 5-year-old, because I've had a 5-year-old come to the clinic and say that, the child is withdrawn, this and that. So what works for a 5-year-old would definitely not work for a 10 or 15-year-old or 20 years old. So it depends on the kind of disorder that the person have, or the kind of symptoms that they come to present to you in the clinic and say that, we have noticed that the child, eats too much, or the child eats, but that's binge eating, eats too much and just to feel good, or the child is socially withdrawn, or there's ADHD, that's attention deficit type ADHD, yeah, or the child is suffering from this and that. So it depends on the symptom. That is when we can now say the symptoms, and then the health, what I said it the other time, your health history, that will now enable us to say that, okay, so because of, according to what you've said, I think this is what the child is going through. That's why you can diagnose the child and then know what to do. If you're mixing therapy and medication, even though I am not a preacher of medication, because medications are actually wonderful, but people can get addicted to it. So I always want people to go through psychotherapy first. Let's explore that option first before we now talk about medications. That's what I always advise people that come to the clinic. That's what I always advise them to do. So X, I think that has Has that answered your question?
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I think she's satisfied also. I think she's happy the way you answered the question. So thank you. We have other people making comments. I think I see Mashallah Monisha saying triggers are external stimulus that cause people to behave in certain ways. And if he also said, reminds us to sit back because there's going to be a closing performance by NG the Great. So we have more packaged for you just to keep it really going. And then I have Ohoho is a dorm saying, I learned that 3/4 of men are very unlikely to speak about their mental health when they need help. What advice do you have for them and those around them? And this question is to Dr. Oge.
Okay. Yes. That I believe that statistics is actually correct. Men are more unlikely to speak about their mental health for various reasons, and I think it varies depending on where you find yourself. I think it's more of an issue in African societies because of the whole macho persona, whereby the man feels okay, he needs to take care of every other person's need, or he doesn't want to appear as, in quotes, I don't want to use the word. He wants to appear. He's macho. That macho is all about my physical strength. But then it's important for us to create that enabling environment. That's the thing. For the men to know that you are important and your mental health is important. Your mental health is part of you. It goes down to the upbringing, the way we bring up our, I remember growing up, if anything happened, maybe if I hurt myself, I could wail and shout and cry as long as I want. But then if my brothers, if anything happened to them, my mom will be like, you're a boy, you're a man, that kind of thing. They're not allowed to express themselves. It starts from the home. The male kids, the boys should be allowed to speak about how they feel. So that environment should be made safe, first of all. And then they understand that the same way you go to your doctor to talk about maybe prostate or talk about your heart, you also need to talk about your emotions. It starts, from the home, and then knowing that your mental health is part of you. It's not a portion of you that you put in a container and lock away in the cupboard, and when you go to work you don't go with it, or when you go to board meetings, or when you go to the farm, or when you go anywhere. It is part of you and has to be protected, safeguarded, and taken care of the same way we take care of our physical health. Yeah, and a culture that wouldn't mock men or shame men for talking about how they feel. Yeah. I hope that clears it a bit.
All right, thank you very much. And Dr. Chuji. Okay, she said thanks a lot. So yes, that cleared it. Thank you very much. And of course, Ade is also appreciating. So we have Dr. Chudi, and he says he has a contribution. So I think he's already on mute, standing by. So please, we're ready for your contribution, Dr. Chudi.
Okay, hold on, guys. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so good to be back again. And I just wanted to commend the speakers and also to encourage us to understand you can't really extricate physical health from mental health. We are all products of a combination of our physical health and mental health. Now, we have to understand there are some peculiarities to women regarding mental health. So for some reason, women tend to have more risk factors depending on where they are monthly. So a woman has a stretch of 28 days, we call the menstrual cycle. So depending on where you are in your cycle, there are some women that get moody, there are some women that tend to develop more mental health problems depending on the stage. So towards the period, they might have what we call PMS, or during ovulation, or things didn't turn out the way they want, or their hormones are acting up. Now also, when you begin to experience all this, and if you don't understand the difference between spirituality and the signs and symptoms you're expressing, and truthfully, it's not everything you need medication for. Talk therapy, exercise, eating good, sleep can beef up a lot of counter hormones. So there are hormones we call endorphins that places you in a very happy place. So when you have a kind of an imbalance between the good hormones, the happy hormones, and the ones that you can't even explain. So that's why when you wake up in the morning, you will just get moody, you begin to wonder if you've gone crazy. That's why you also notice, a woman that just had a baby might start exhibiting some mental health symptoms, and people will begin to think, oh, that woman is gone crazy. And some women descend into mental health homes and to spiritual homes. But what they have is maternal bliss, or worst case scenario, postpartum depression. So I want us to encourage each other to talk about our symptoms. Like I wrote in the comment section, sometimes you can be in the company of people you love, but you're lonely. And sometimes you might be alone, but you're not lonely. So stop interchanging them. Loneliness and aloneness, they are not the same thing. The one we don't want you to be in is the loneliness. You can be alone and you can create fun, you can fill in your moments, you can get busy, you can go to the gym, but you can be in the company of someone you love so much, but you're not expressing what's happening on the inside, and you keep dying in installments. You keep losing the essence of why you are around. And especially to women, for some reason, men tend to cope better, because of the kind of, their nature. So I'm encouraging all the women in the house to also identify all these red flags in your teenagers, in your little ones. Anybody can be prone to developing mental health problems. And I didn't catch up to Oge's presentation, but I'm not surprised she gave a very good presentation. It's a lady I've worked with for a long time now. And Jane Francis Wenzel, you're doing an amazing job of, chairing this session. Ify, you guys just rock. Thank you guys so much. And God bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Chudi. It's a pleasure hearing from you. So remember, if you have any question on Facebook, do well to drop that on Facebook. We'll pick them up. And also, if you have on YouTube where we're streaming this program live, also drop it there. You will not be left behind. So we have another question here, and also Dr. This is for you. So it says, you can go to the chat section also and read up, the comments that people are dropping. Like Dr. Adewoye also dropped a follow-up to the answers she gave to X earlier, saying that, men are important, your feelings are truly genuine and valid, so speak out. But we have Dr. Oge, a question for Dr. Oge rather. It says, what role does your personality play in loneliness in people with mental health challenges? What role does your personality play?
Okay, I was about typing it in the chat box. Okay, so for
Dr. Oge, can
you hear me? Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
I can.
Yeah, I was about typing it in the chat box. So depending, like I said, some people find it easier to navigate social situations. So they could come into a group and they can quickly connect with people. That is their personality. So and then again, depending on the kind of person you are. So one thing I found out about myself is that I like to be this bubbly personality. And I started placing a sort of burden on myself to always be bubbly and to always be smiley. And when I found out, I started getting depressed. I couldn't just come to terms with the fact that if somebody called me, I wouldn't have something joyful to share with them. I just didn't want to be that one to keep saying, I'm feeling low, I'm feeling sad, I'm having these thoughts, I'm feeling guilty. And because of the way I myself, I believe I used to have a lot of perfectionist tendencies. I felt I should always be happy. And it kind of became a burden on me that I should be able to tell people I'm happy. If anyone called me, I should say I'm happy. And it was when I started speaking to my therapist and I told her this, she said, no, there are times you feel down. And you shouldn't gloss over it. You should, just like Dr. Adeoye said, try to get to the root of that instead of just glossing it over and thinking, oh, I should always have this happy smiley persona. Deal with whatever it is. If it's maybe a thought about myself, or if it's a thought about something, deal with it. And I shouldn't be ashamed to tell people I'm feeling down. So that was what made my own worse. For me, it was like putting on this persona of always being happy. And because I was feeling down, I felt bad. Like, why should I feel down? So that was my own experience with, my mental health and what my personality did to me, And then, like I said, some people struggle to make friends. And because that is how they are, it kind of makes their loneliness even worse. But then we should come to this point of appreciating who we are and knowing that is our own, unique nature. Yeah. Instead of feeling like, oh, we're worse than anyone. No, this is our makeup. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Ogechi, for explaining that to us. And for once again, now the whole idea of what everyone is trying to say, because you might start feeling and the repetition and all that. We've heard this thing over and over again, but it's to convince you how true and how serious it is, because sometimes we have that doubt and you're thinking, like someone already said earlier, when I say this thing, the next thing it goes out there. So first of all, there's that confidentiality. So yes, the person you were talking to understands why they cannot, not that they shouldn't, but under no circumstance should it be something out there. And so you can imagine if Catholics, sorry, but if Catholics still go for confession, and then we've never heard all through these years that someone said something in a confessional, and that's how the person was found out. So it should also tell you that somehow there's really yes, the doctor may have to take note of your progress just to follow you up, but it doesn't mean that the person is keeping record of it because the person wants to know how sane or how mad that you are. So it's very important to speak up and be sincere about your feelings at every point in time. So someone also dropped, I think it's a thank you message for a question answered. That's from Angoli Marshall. Said, thanks, Dr. Oge, for answering the question about men. You are very right about how we nurture men prevents, you're very right about how we nurture men prevents them from expressing vulnerability. So, and someone said, I think our lesson there is asking, how can we join the Facebook or FACEYOUTH? I'm thinking maybe later Informa or Calling is going to answer that. But the question says Facebook. But if it's Facebook, there's a link. And if you're here, I don't think there's any reason why you want to join. But yes, later they would answer that. You probably want to be following up on other activities of FACEYOUTH. So go to Facebook and search for FACEYOUTH. If you go to Facebook, you search for FACEYOUTH as one word, no space. That's the Facebook page. But if it's for this to join the live, you're already here. And I think that's pretty much about it. And then do we have people that their hands are up that want to ask questions? Because you can also have the floor to ask your questions. Because I hear Emily and Chidima's hands are up. So please, admin, can Chidima Yvonne.
Hi everyone, it's nice to be on the platform. I couldn't really type much. I've been on the move, so but it's been the little that I've been able to catch up with has been really brilliant. My addition to this is with regards to adult tantrums or tantrums in general. I have come to realize that you can't really say tantrums is a mental health, but it could be associated with mental health in that if let's say an adult grew up to be not having, not just as yourselves have been discussing, a lot of social exposures, maybe there were some hindrances there. Could this be connected to, you can take it's connected to adult tantrums. Adults then began to throw tantrums at an older age. Maybe they weren't so exposed to such social connectedness. And then again, another thing I've also come to realize is that children outgrow tantrums. But how can you and create an enabling environment for adults to also voluntarily speak about their mental health? I'm seeing a point when we're going to get to that stage in life where adults can comfortably speak about their mental, just as we have kids who are or be childlike, as they say. So yeah. So someone can actually take the floor to discuss, or if they want to expand on the scope of what I've spoken about. Well, just that relationship between tantrums and mental health. Thank you.
Okay, so she's not directing it to anybody in particular. So the two of you can have your input. Dr. Ade, you can go first since we already heard from Dr. Oge just a few minutes ago. So she's asking that, adults throwing tantrums doesn't necessarily mean that they're going off, but can you help to know, tell us when we can draw the line?
All right, thank you very much. So for tantrums in adults, the truth is it's a normal reaction. Tantrums are normal reaction because the tantrums are normal reaction to happenings, because you are a human being who has emotions running on the inside of you. But where you need to be careful and draw the line is if it begins to affect you and the people around you negatively, in the sense that if you begin to throw bottles because you are angry, or you begin to light the house and say you want to burn the house, or all of that. So it's a normal thing, or is relatively normal if adults throw tantrums, but you need to get to the root of the reason why you are doing that. Like Dr. Chudi said, there are some times that when your hormones take over, you just begin to do things, and when people ask you, say that you cannot understand because it's your hormones talking at that moment. You just can't understand what's happening. But when you cannot cope with negative emotions, or you're not able to calm yourself down, then you need to seek help. Because, for example, so someone might shout, you might go out and then you slam the door, or you begin to curse people, or you kick or throw objects. That is becoming too extreme and dangerous. Then at that moment, or in light of that, the person needs to seek medical help. You need to seek help, because it's becoming something that would be unbearable then. But adult throwing tantrums is it's not really a bad thing. It's just, you just need to watch it so that it will not go to the extreme length. And tantrums could be caused by unresolved childhood trauma. I always say this. There are people that have not healed from their childhood trauma. So if you have not healed from your childhood trauma, and then it's playing out in your adulthood, then you need to seek help.
All right, thank you very much for that. And then, of course, if you have other questions, please do send them way inbox, and you can also go to Facebook, or you can go to YouTube, and we'll be there to take these questions. So let me see from the ones that we have so far. I think Mosu Cornelia is saying that by nature, I take a lot from people. And sometimes I wish I'm able to express my dissatisfaction without hurting them. I get really angry, but just can't express it. How do I deal with the frustration? So, well, the question was not directed at anyone in particular, but Dr. Oge, we didn't get to hear from you about, that drawing the line. between throwing tantrums and going off. So, Dr. Oge, yes, if you still want to make a contribution to what Dr. Ade said earlier, please welcome to do that. Outside of that, I could give you the other question, the second question, so you take. You're still on mute, Dr. Oge, so please Colette unmute her.
Dr. Oge, we can't hear you. We cannot hear you. We can only see you.
Okay, I've just unmuted. I've just been allowed to unmute myself now. Okay, so yeah, just like Dr. Ade said, once it begins to, should I say, impact on one's life, one's relationships with people, then I believe the person should get some therapy, because this might be a case of needing anger management, or it could be some unresolved trauma, unresolved issues that make people lash out, because there are certain ways that we're expected to behave, in society or in the company of others. So once it's becoming a case of is affecting a person's work, a person's progress, or others around them, they need to seek help. And then the second question, sorry, I didn't get let me see, was it sorry, is it the one of, okay, by nature, I take a lot from people, and sometimes I wish I'm able to express my dissatisfaction without hurting them. I really get angry, but just can't express it. How do I deal with the frustration? Yeah, I think I can relate to this as well. I think it's that thing of not wanting to hurt other people's feelings, and being the one to absorb everything. And we need to remember that we deserve better. We deserve better. I'm in this world just like you. There's this poem that used to hang on. I used to see somewhere, the Desiderata. I am a child of the universe, just like any other person. I have a right to be here. When we remember that we spend so much time loving others, encouraging others, saying good things to others, what then makes us exempt from receiving good treatment? Sometimes we feel, I'm going to offend this person, but a person who feels that they want to, talk down on us and use us as their as an avenue to relieve their anger. No. That's where it comes to setting up boundaries. And yes, we might lose some friends along the way, but we also need to know where to draw the line and say, no. I am deserving of goodness. And I wouldn't let a person come and trample all over me, because we think that when we allow people to do these things, they like us. That's what I used to think at first. And then I realized that no, I was actually belittling myself, and it did not in any way help my mental health, because I'll go back and I'll be so sad, like, why didn't I stand up to this person? No. Boundaries. I am worth it. I am worth good things. Self-love also comes with knowing that, no, I'm not going to allow this. And when people get used to that, it comes with respect. It comes with a lot of, people valuing us more. And, that's what I think. It can be difficult, but learning to say no and learning to tell people that this is how I feel about this, I didn't like it. I think it makes us feel better in the long run. Yes, creating those healthy boundaries. Yes, that's what I went to say.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you very much for that. And let's dash up to Facebook and see if we have questions there. Although I see Jacqueline here, and I'm sure I've seen her also in the Zoom. But then she said, does that mean one's personality predisposes one to mental health? I think that question had been answered when she was asking about, people who, maybe seem to be loners. So naturally could be a sign, but I don't think so. Okay, so we have just words of encouragement from people who are, reminding us, especially Dr. Adewoye, reminding us that Creating health boundaries is important because you matter. Self-love is not selfish. It's not selfishness. Okay, so that's reiterating what Dr. said. You have to love yourself first, and every other person will adjust. So if you don't really, if you treat yourself like you can take anything, people would assume it never really gets to you. So, but if you show them that it gets to you, sorry, but it's so bad using personal example, but I'll share this. I kind of lost it once, and I expressed myself, and someone said something like, you mean these things get to you? And so now she's saying that I kind of realized, how she felt that day. Like maybe everything I'm laughing about it at that day. So she was surprised, like, but we thought you just take this thing. So it could be a case also. So people just think, but she never really minds. You will give her appointment, we turn up late. It's a problem. Is it not? It's nothing. So she would just laugh about it. But if you set standards, people would know that, okay, no, this one's a no-go area. You also, amongst your friends, there are people that you can't even tell them that you're canceling an appointment because you know how they'll take it. So it's the same thing. So it's because they've set those standards. So if you don't set those standards, people will just assume that, well, anything can go with you. And then Mama K says, Dr. Oge, sadly, social media helps create a happy life all the time. And a lot of people hide behind it, but they are really lonely. Yes. So can we talk about that also, Dr. Oge? The fact that I have 1 million followers on Instagram and another 1 million on Twitter, but then for over 1 week I've been in one t-shirt and no one really knows why that has been happening. So can we also talk about that one?
Yeah, social media is a double-edged sword. It's really helped a lot, in connectivity. But then sometimes we get lost in it. And I am struggling with depending on likes. I found myself, when I go to somewhere, I keep thinking of, let me take this perfect picture and put it out there. And then I come back and I check the likes and I'm like, wow, this is nice, that type of thing. And then I said to ask myself, I hope I'm not becoming a commodity, putting myself, wanting the likes and enjoying it. Am I really spending as much time to reach out to the friends who are around me, maybe calling my friends on the phone, those who I can visit? And then I had to just tell myself that I should pull it back a bit. And that's why sometimes I try to share realistic stories about myself. And sometimes when I share those realistic stories, I don't get as much likes. People are like, oh, isn't this too real? And I don't put out these realistic stories there because I want any sympathy. It's just for people to know that today there could be smiles and then tomorrow there could be tears, and just being real with myself so that I don't put myself under the pressure of I'm always going to put smiley pictures there. That's the thing. So I think we should also be careful so we don't get caught up in I've got so many friends. Who are the ones who will check up on you when you're down? Who are the ones who really know you and who are cheering you on, whether you're posting or you're not posting? So it's just finding that balance between what am I using social media for? Let me not get caught up or lost in it. And let me always, finally check in on myself.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Oge, for that. And please, very sorry, Amuli, I took something from you. I think it was a comment, so I assumed, your hands had been taken care of. Sorry about that. So please, you have the floor now. Thanks, Colette, for drawing our attention to that.
No, it's okay. Thank you very much. And first, let me just say thank you to Dr. Oge and Dr. Ade for such a fantastic presentation. And to Face Youth, I know Ify personally, I am just delighted that as a culture, we are speaking about this because, a lot of us pretend like there is no mental health. A lot of us talk about spirituality over mental health, but it's a real thing. It's a part of us. So, some points I really wanted to make were specifically about, just to speak about, what you spoke about just now with regards to adult tantrums. I just wanted to say to Yvonne, for anybody who is interested, there's a really good book called The Chimp Paradox. And I'll go upstairs and find the name of the author. It was recommended to me by my therapist when I burnt out last year. So I also wanted to share with the group because I saw someone put a comment, we want real stories. So just some background. I work in the oil industry. I've progressed quite well in my career. I have 2 children. And last year, I just burnt out, right? I had suicide ideation. And, I got to that point and I still didn't go and do something about it. It was when I flipped out, my mother-in-law visited and I flipped out and I went back to her to say, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to flip out. Something is wrong with me, but I don't know what it is. And she looked at me and she said, if something is wrong with you, why won't you call the doctor? So again, some more context. My mother-in-law is from Northern Ireland. She's Caucasian. So I guess they're more au fait with talking about mental health. So she said that to me and I was like, oh, I can call the doctor. So what I'm trying to say is that even though I speak to people at work about look at after your mental health, all of that, I still needed someone to tell me that you are living according to your bias and stereotype. You are not doing what you're preaching, right? There was something deep-seated in me that was preventing me from taking that step. So I just wanted to share that with the group and let people know that when we talk about mental health, we can talk about it, but until you make that connection from your head to your heart, and you know that it's real, and you appreciate and recognize that we are mental beings as well as physical beings, as well as emotional beings, you will not take that next step if you need help. So I just wanted to share that story so that everybody is aware of that. And just again, to just say thank you so much to, the doctors for sharing their experience and for, FACEYOUth for putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And of course, we can't thank you, Emily, for drawing our attention to this. And for someone also, that was asking for personal story, Chidima, Yvonne, you raised your hands earlier. Do you still want to speak? Do you need the floor? So I have Ify saying, thank you for sharing, dearest Emily. Mental health needs unashamed conversations. Stigma and lack of understanding are 2 barriers that keep people, especially those from Africa and other ethnic minority communities, from seeking help regarding their mental health issues. I have a friend who is a life coach, and she helps other people, to set their lives together, you can imagine. And she wanted to move with the family to Canada. She had everything worked out, did the exam, found a job. Somewhere along the line, she got pregnant. I think, first of all, somewhere along the line, COVID happened. Then she got pregnant. So they were working with a family of a father, a mother, and 4 children, budget. And all of a sudden, because she was pregnant and they were going to leave, before she delivers, it went up to a family of father and mother with 5 children. So financially, that changed every other discussion. And before we knew it, she went up, so this is someone who provides guide for other people. And we're still seeing a lot of things that she was doing, saying, giving out all her children's clothes that they were going to leave, next week as normal, until eventually, we found out she's in the hospital and this is happening. So yes, you can actually be dealing with people on WhatsApp and they're going through a lot. I mean, of course, it was when it eventually happened that we found out that this was actually, part of what could have tipped her over. The fact that she put all her hope that this Canada was going to happen, and then all of a sudden it was crashing before her. I mean, that is also putting even a reason to it. There are many people that could be going through things. I watched a video, a docu-series on YouTube about, a guy that's a doctor, an academic doctor, had lectured or had worked in the UN, lectured in Unilag and I think in another university in the UK. And now he's a crack addict because he went to depression. So I guess as a treatment, they started giving him crack and he got addicted to it. So he couldn't keep any job and he ended up on the streets. I mean, maybe Dr. Oge and Dr. Ade, you people can talk to us because that thing still disturbs me up to today. Are you still around, Dr. Oge and Dr. Ade? He said that he can't be helped because if he's treated from the crack addiction, he would go back to depression. So are there people who go into depression and they really cannot be helped out of depression?
Okay, I think Dr. Adeoye wants to. Dr. Adeoye, she's a specialist in this area. Do you want to speak first, and then I
Okay,
can?
ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. So the truth is, depression cannot be cured, but it can be managed. So if you said that that man was on medication and he eventually went back to, that means it wasn't managed very well. That's the truth. So they could have managed it with therapy, a combination of therapy and medication and close monitoring. Well, you know, most doctors, he's an African, right?
He's an African, but he was found in the streets of UK. So it's safe to assume that he had already moved. He lectured in Unilag and then probably moved to the UK. So this documentary
No,
was
he's an African. He moved to the UK. It's like he's an African, like his background.
Yes, he's an African. He's an African. He's a Nigerian, of course. He's a Nigerian.
Okay. So you know that we have this mentality as well in Nigeria, like, oh, if I'm a doctor or I'm this or that, like the higher education you have, the more you feel that, oh, you are on top of the world and people can really rule your life or talk to you like that. So that's why I said it was actually not managed well. If it was managed well, they would have done mind cleansing for him, because he needs a shift paradigm in the sense that his thought process needs renewing. His thought process actually he needs a mindset shift first. That's number one. Then two, coupled with the drugs of the depression and all that and therapy, it would have helped him. So I would want to believe that it wasn't managed well. That's why he had to fall back to the streets. If it was managed well, definitely. Depression can be cured. That's the truth. But it can be managed well, because people can manage depression for a very long time, some for the rest of their life, and they will still be fine. But yet they are going through clinical depression and all that, or they would have been diagnosed with clinical depression. But the man was not managed well. I think that's why he went back to that. So, and I'm sorry to cut you short. Remember, I said it earlier that I am not a preacher of drugs, because those drugs can be addictive. They can actually, antidepressant drug it works. They are nerve coolants, so it works well. So instead of you trying to instead of the person who has been diagnosed with clinical depression to use the drug for a period of time and then try to work themselves out of that and stop the drug use, tries to bounce back, leverage on their own strength, they would want to depend more on the drugs, just because, when they have that episode, it is the drug that helps them. So it wasn't managed. That's the thing. Thank you. It wasn't properly managed.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Dr. Ade, for that. So at least, yes, just know that no matter how depressed you are, you can be managed to come back and live your normal life. Because it got me really scared, with that doctor's story. I felt like, there are people that, this is it. It's either I'm doing crack or I'm just, so yes, just know that you have to seek help, and real help. If you feel that whatever you're doing is not working, you can actually, keep talking to people and asking for better suggestion until you get where you want to be. So thank you everyone for joining. And our time is almost up. So I guess we'll just take maybe about 5 minutes to bring on NG the Great to give us the final performance before we take the closing remarks. So NG the Great is an Aberdeen-based singer and a songwriter also. She's also an author, and she blogs. So please, a round of applause for NG the Great as she takes the stage for the final performance before we go. Thank you.
Going up, hey, going up, going up, going up, going up, going up.
Yes, no, but we have apologies. Can you hear us now? I think we were having technical difficulties. Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yes.
And they, okay. Let me try and share again. Can you hear the sound coming out of the computer?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear the sound.
Okay, so we'll start it again. Okay, you can start.
To the sky, to fly so high. I'm going up. Hey, yo, everybody. Meet you up today. Cause I'm going up. I'm going up. Hey, I'm going up. Hey, I'm going up. Oh, I'm going up. I'm going up. Cause I'm going up. Hey, I'm going up. Going up. Going up. In a light. Going up. Come on. And that's good. Going up. In a career. Going up. Hey, going up. Because Jesus is on my side, my destiny has changed. Because we are all powerful, our destiny has changed. Ooh, cause we're going up, hey, we're going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, oh, come on, I'm going up, hey, I'm going up, cause I'm going up, hey, I'm going up, come on, I'm going up, hey, going up, in our homes, going up, oh, in our careers, going up, in a church, going up, come on, in our schools, going up, every day, going up, come on, going up, going up, I'm a going up, come on, I'm a going up, hey, I'm a going up, hey, I'm a going up, oh, I'm a going up, come on, going up, because Jesus is on our side, our destiny has changed, because he's on our side, our destiny has changed. Ooh, cause we're going up, hey, going up, come on, going up, going up. In our lives, going up, come on, in our schools, going up, in our homes, going up, come on, going up, come on, sing it up, 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 up. Hey, we're shining, we're shining. Thank you for listening. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody. I'm not going up by Angel Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy the Great. We're all going up and we're not coming down. Thank you so much. Thank you. We really appreciate that music interlude to end this. And I don't know, Face Youth already dropped an appreciation of closing remark. I don't know if you or anyone else is still coming on. Okay, all right.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd like to, on behalf of the entire team FACEYOUth, thank you all for joining us today. Most especially, would like to thank our speakers, our guest speakers and performers. Dr. Ogechi, the soprano doctor. It was really nice having you. Thank you for your amazing contributions. Dr. Adeto.
You didn't sing for us. Dr. Oge did not sing for us.
She did more than sing. So the music therapy was good by J. Cameron.
Yeah.
Cameron J. Yeah. And NG the Great. And thank you so much, Jane Frances. Where is it? I know we didn't introduce you properly because you had a bit of technical. And I would also like to apologize to everyone for the technical difficulties that we experienced today. I think we mistakenly sent the wrong registration link, and which was corrected. Apologies for that. And we really appreciate those that persisted and joined eventually. God bless you all with the ID that was sent. God bless you all. And so we meet again on the 16th of July. It's going to be a bigger performance because we have our children, the children from our summer club. They are going to do like a variety show for us from everything they've learned. I mean, after the summer club, they will now showcase everything that they got from the summer club to us. So thank you so much for joining and have a very good evening and see you again. Thank you for your support. So you can follow us on social media and we'll try and tag all the doctors. If you have any question for them or you like to book a therapy session, you can email us at info@faceyouth.org and then we'll connect you to any of the doctors. We have a lot of doctors that we're working with. So just follow us on social media, send us a DM. Our friendly team are always available to respond to your messages, or you can also private message me if you need anything. Just know that confidentiality, we hold any information you share with us with highest level of confidentiality. So you have a good evening and we'll see you again on the 16th of July. Bye. Thank you. So enjoy the music.
All right, so thank you very So, Ify, thank you. I'm not sure we've thanked you enough, but thank you very much for, always putting this together and ensuring that we bring to our awareness and to everyone around us the fact that we have to, I know a lot of people who saw the post and said, wow, mental health, I'd like to join, but I'm not sure I saw all of them here. But for the people who joined, this is a favor you're doing for yourself and not for anyone. So thank you for being a part of this. Thank you once again, Ify and Yibu. We can't thank you enough. And of course, that's how I'll be signing out for you to go and continue with the rest of your Saturday evening. And once again, my name is Jane Frances Mweze. So bye for now.